Welcome back to JetKoa Sports. I'm David, and today we are going to talk about the Duke game. Man, my pick to win the tournament is officially out. It was a fantastic game against UConn. Duke had a very comfortable lead in the first half. They were dominating the game. And Hurley must have given a fantastic halftime speech because UConn came out and put the pressure on Duke, scared Duke. Caravan came out looking like a better leader than Cameron Boozer, which was, in the end, the defining part of the game. While Duke was blowing that massive lead, they needed a leader to calm people down. And Cameron Boozer was doing a great job of that. He was playing good basketball. He was getting the buckets they needed. But the rest of the team was not feeding off it like they had been, and that previous teams Cameron Boozer has been on have done. And ultimately, it came down to a crazy last play where the other Boozer made a terrible decision. There was only 3 seconds left in that game. He didn't have to do anything. He could have just held the ball. They're going to try to steal it, probably foul him. But by the time anything would have happened, like the game would have been over, he could have just thrown the ball straight into the air and wasted the 3 seconds. He could have shot it and wasted those 3 seconds. It's just not an easy thing to do in the heat of the moment. It's very easy for me to sit here and say what else he should have done. And I feel bad for Boozer. That's going to be a hard thing to get past. But he will. The Boozer family seems like a strong-knit group, and can't wait to watch Duke next year. Final Four is looking tough. Michigan versus Arizona, UConn versus Illinois. It's going to be fantastic. We got 4 good teams, 4 great teams. I'm not quite ready to make picks. I'm going to record again on April 2nd, and the games start on April 4th. So I will give you my picks later in the week, which should come out on April 3rd, which is my birthday. So I better get those picks right. Hopefully, that'll be a present to myself. Moving on to the NFL. Ty Simpson just continues to dominate the news. It is the offseason, and leading up to the draft, there's not a whole lot to talk about, as we've seen by this Myles Garrett nonsense that is a non-story, like every other Myles Garrett story that happens. Like, he's going to stay with Cleveland. They're not going to trade him unless someone walks in and says, here's 5 first-round picks. So those stories are always kind of pointless. Anyways, Ty Simpson being the next Shedeur Sanders is kind of what I've been hearing today. I don't agree with it. Ty Simpson is second or third best quarterback in the draft. I don't see him falling to the 5th round, 6th round. He's going to go before the 4th. I think probably before the 3rd. But he's not going to be Shedeur Sanders. And let's move on. Stop talking about this kid. Just let him get drafted and start playing football. Brandon Ayuk is causing a similar storyline with San Francisco as I think A.J. Brown is with the Eagles. This is a simple head coach, owner kind of telling different stories. Shanahan obviously is ready to move on. He's just curious what they can get in return, how he can use those pieces on the 2026 team. That's where his head's at. That's where his head should be at. Ayuk hasn't played for them in quite a while. And the owner steps in and just gives a Philadelphia Eagles response. We like having talent on our roster. We're not looking to make our roster less talented. Yeah, that's obvious. And it's kind of a weak response from the owner. honestly. It's him trying to have his cake and eat it too. I'm not a big fan of that. Ultimately, Ayuk's gone. So I think there's more of a chance of Ayuk going than AJ Brown, honestly. Like Ayuk hasn't played for them in a long time. But both of them should be traded, and I think will be traded. So there are a lot of wide receiver news today. Again, it's the off season, so very little to talk about. So we're just going to speculate about wide receivers. Apparently, the Rams were thinking about trading Devontae Adams and decided not to, which I think is a fantastic call. That little shimmy option Devontae has in the red zone with Stafford is phenomenal, and they should not break that up. The guy is a fantastic receiver. We all know that. And when they're within the 5-10 yard line, he has the option to go left or right on every route. I don't know if y'all know this, but he has that option. And Stafford is such a veteran, and they gel in practice, so he knows by body language where Devontae's going. And that's how they had so many red zone touchdowns between the two. It's a great decision. Puka is fantastic. He's your dude. But Devontae, you can never have too many red zone weapons. And Devontae is a fantastic one. Do not get rid of that guy. Sticking with the wide receivers, the New York Giants are looking to add OBJ, where, OBJ going back to where he started his career in New York. I'm not too high on OBJ. Honestly, I think he was an extremely talented receiver. He's still a very talented guy, but I don't think he has the same impact he once did. And so I don't think it's going to be moving needles if he goes back to New York. But with Malik Neighbors sidelined right now, they lost Wan'Dale Robinson. They need wide receivers in New York. So adding OBJ is a good call for them if they can get it at a decent price. I don't really have an issue with it. Jackson Dart he looks like he's going to be a stud. So, yeah, let's get him some weapons. He didn't have Malik Neighbors last year when he played. Like, can you imagine him with a legitimate number one receiver? And he was playing good football. I'm really excited to watch the Giants, and getting Harbaugh to coach them is amazing. Amazingly lucky that the Ravens decided to give the Giants Harbaugh. I know that's not exactly what happened, but that's what happened. And it's going to be exciting. Honestly, they're talking a lot about who the Giants are going to take at, I believe it's number 5. But if they'll go Sonny Styles or running back with the dude out of Notre Dame. Man, I'd heard early in the offseason that they might take the safety Downs. And that got me very excited because of Harbaugh's history in Baltimore with fantastic safeties. But I think the right call is Sonny Styles. I want to see that dude play. I think that guy's going to be a stud. I think he's going to continue to learn the linebacker position, and his athleticism is off the charts. So as his intellect builds at the linebacker position, that guy's going to be a beast and someone to reckon with. And I think the Giants should take him. Moving on to New Orleans, Saints are talking about getting snaps and getting the ball to Etienne and Alvin Kamara, and say they will have enough snaps for both of them. I mean, yes, of course they will. The Atlanta Falcons had enough snaps to run 2 running backs with almost equal workloads when they have Bijan Robinson, who is arguably the best running back in football. So if you want to do it, there's enough snaps. And I think if you want to save your speed guy at the end and use Kamara on third downs as the receiving back, I think that's a fantastic idea. So they will get those guys on the field, maybe both of them at the same time to cause some crazy confusion and speed out of the backfield. Um, I am excited to see those two. With Tyler, I'm excited to see the Saints offense and the progression of that team. Hopefully, they're not in the dweller for too long. Saints being good at football is a good thing for the NFL. Moving on to the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves got Anthony Edwards back today. Awesome, so he can get some games in before the playoffs. But at the same time, they're losing Jaden McDaniels. And losing players to injury right before the playoffs is just awful to me. In my eyes, that's the most important time for them to be getting reps, for them to be staying in game shape. And coming back into the lineup during the playoffs is hard when you've been sitting down, when you've been just riding a bike. Playing in a game is much different than just working out. The muscle memory is so important. So I don't like this for Minnesota. I think it's going to hurt them. And as it currently stands, they're going to have a tough matchup in round 1. And then round 2, if they make it, looks like it'll be against the Thunder. So they need all of their guys playing significant minutes to close out the season and gelling for them to have a shot. I really like the Wolves, and I hope they're healthy in the playoffs. Celtics kind of trolling everybody with the gap year stuff, which is just awesome. I don't know why we thought the Celtics were just like gonna be terrible this year. Yeah, they don't have Jason Tatum. Yeah, they got rid of Porzingis and a couple other people, but they still got Brown, and that guy is awesome. MVP level this year, all pro level this year, all NBA. Sorry, guy is great. And now they got Tatum back, and they look like the best team in the East. I'd be very scared to play the Celtics in the playoffs this year, and I think everybody is. I think the Celtics are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how many years in a row. Celtics are good. What a gap year to be ranked second in the East and going into the playoffs looking like the best team in the conference, maybe in basketball. Bucks officially are going to miss the playoffs after the loss last night, and it is time to move on from Giannis. Just rip the Band-Aid off, guys. Like, this complaining and crying and moaning that's been going on for years now. Y'all have been signing just whoever to try and make it work. It doesn't even seem like there's an actual game plan to some of these signings. It's quite interesting. I love Damian Lillard, but I didn't think that would work from day one. It just seemed like it was not a fit. Just because two guys are ballers doesn't mean they're going to play well and doesn't mean that they're going to play together. Their games might not mesh. That's really what you got to be looking at is how do these pieces fit together? Not just this guy's got a max contract. Let's bring him in because that'll make us good. I think it's time for the Bucks to move on. Get rid of Giannis, trade him, get 2 first rounds, whatever you get for him, and let's move on. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, the playoffs are fast approaching. Detroit, the number 1 seed in the East, has 8 games left. And I'm going to start over the next couple of videos kind of giving previews of some of the playoff teams. Today, I'm going to start with the number 1 seeds. The Detroit Pistons. They have retained the number 1 seed during Cade's injury. I thought they were going to probably lose it, but they still have a 4-game lead over the Celtics, which is, it might have grown since his injury, actually. I think they were at like maybe 2.5-game lead when he got hurt, and now they're at a 4-game lead. But they rely on Cade way too much. They rely too much on the defense creating offense. I do love the bad boy image that they had kind of going at the beginning of the season when they were, getting in people's faces and not backing down and talking trash. Like, I love that. I play defense when I play soccer, and I'm physical. And I don't talk a whole lot, but I'll say a few things just to let people know that I'm not going to go anywhere. Um, but ultimately, they need some other players to step up besides Cade. That's the only way they're going to have a chance. Um, Hopefully, while Cade's hurt, they can find some other answers. Get, some guys creating opportunities, making their own shots, and they have something else to turn to in the playoffs besides Cade. And hopefully, that involves making 3-pointers. Like, they've been terrible from the 3-point line. And Mr. Duncan, like, come on, dude. That's your thing, right? You're an offensive player. Let's start hitting some threes. Hoyer is not really helping in that regard either. His 3-point percentage has just dropped the past few seasons. And he really needs to get going because they need both those guys to be doing more. And yeah, like I said, I like their defense. Their defense is great, but so are the Celtics and the Knicks. Their defenses are great too. Top 5, I believe, in certain categories. And I think they have more offensive options. Like, if you shut down Cade, I'm not sure where Detroit turns to win that game. But if you shut down Brown on the Celtics, they got Tatum. And vice versa. You shut down Tatum, they got Brown. The Knicks have Brunson and Towns, like 2 guys that can go score 30 any given night. And honestly, I think the Cavs might be better than Detroit when it all comes down to it. So hopefully, let's take the last 8 games and let's find some other answers not named Cade Cunningham. Oklahoma City Thunder, number 1 seed in the West. They're going to win 60-plus games. Not going to get to that all-time wins record like we might have thought at the first, during the first month and a half of the season. But Shea is that dude. I mean, he gets to his spot easily. And when he does, he's usually scoring or he's going to the free throw line. And a lot of the time he's doing both. It looks so easy for him on TV. I know it's not. I play sports. It's not, but it looks effortless at times for him to just get to his spot and then he's rising up for the jumper or, a layup if they give him that open lane. And he'll get fouled. It's phenomenal to watch. A little frustrating, especially if you're not rooting for them. Because, like, once he gets the ball at a certain spot of the court, it's like, okay, that's 2 point. Don't foul him. Like, just give him the 2 and let him go. Man, that Paul George trade. I remember that trade, and I remember seeing what they gave up. And the first thing I thought, I wasn't even like draft picks in the NBA. They're important, but it's not like an NFL first rounder, right? There's less than 5 dudes in the NBA draft that people are really gunning for. In the NFL, like the top 25 picks are pretty talented dudes. But yeah, when I saw they gave up Shea in that Paul George trade, I remember thinking like that is gonna come back to bite the Clippers. And it has. Now, a lot of that is just because of the injuries the Clippers sustained. But with that organization and how backwards it is at times, like what else did we expect to happen besides Shea turning into a All-NBA MVP, Finals MVP, and Paul George getting hurt a lot, and Kawhi getting hurt a lot, Clippers underachieving. I mean, we should have expected that. What a bad trade. Thunder's weakness, though, they give up a lot of 3-pointers. Their defense swarms, right? and that's fantastic. They are in everybody's face all the time. But when you're moving that much, you will lose track of a player or two, and that creates a lot of open three pointers. And if they run into a team that is hot, they could get sent home early. And on that note, I would watch out for the San Antonio Spurs. They may roll through the city with the broom, broom. Um, but yeah, they hit corner threes. They're very good at moving the ball, and they already beat the Thunder 4 to 5 times this year. I'm very much looking forward to that series. It would be in the conference finals if we get to see it, and I think we will. I'll get to the Spurs in another video, but I see them winning out. The Lakers right now are in third, so that means the Lakers would play the Spurs in the second round if the favorites win. And I don't see the Lakers beating the Spurs. Even with their three-headed offensive juggernaut, I don't see them being able to stop Wemby. Um, and the Spurs have other weapons as well. I think the Lakers are going to be in trouble in the second round. And I did just make a joke about the Spurs sweeping Oklahoma City. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I just really wanted to use Vince's song in that as a joke. But speaking of getting swept, there were 5 sweeps in the opening weekend for Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays, fantastic team, but they swept the A's, who I am very high on this year. 3 straight games. And it came down to pitching for the A's, which I pointed out in a previous video was their weakness and was going to be the thing to watch with the A's. Their offense is young and very talented, so they'll have some up and downs because of the youth, but they're so talented that they're going to score. And the pitching just needs to be able to do their job a little bit. They don't need to be the best pitching staff in baseball because the offense is going to produce that much. But they got to come in and be a top half of the league pitching rotation and bullpen, or they're not gonna do much. And I have them making the playoffs, so I hope they can figure out their pitching. Severino and Springs, they pitched well, but the bullpen blew those games, and that can't happen. In any game, the bullpen blowing a lead is awful. But when your 2 best pitchers give you a lead, you can't blow that. You gotta shut the door. And they did trade their closer last season, so they got to figure that out. And they're gonna call up some young guys, and they will figure out. They're the A's. They always have some talent somewhere hidden. But yeah, if the bullpen does not pick it up for those 2 guys, especially, it's gonna be a long season for the A's. The Blue Jays pitching, on the other hand, set a record. I think they struck out like 50 guys over the weekend. Crazy. I think it's a record for an opening weekend series in Major League Baseball. And the Blue Jays, they got some pitching talent. They're a little injured. Some of them are a little up and down as the seasons go on, but they do have talent. And if their pitching stays healthy and performs like they can, then they're going to be a formidable playoff team again this year. And they could battle the Yankees for the AL East. I still have the Yankees as my AL East winner, but the Blue Jays are not far behind. Speaking of the Yankees, they also swept their opening series against the San Francisco Giants. Their pitching was on point. They only gave up 1 run in 3 games. The Giants did have some bats, but I mentioned this in a previous video. They got a lot of first base DH types that kind of do the same thing. Rafael Devers first baseman for the Giants, usually owns the Yankees, especially in the Bronx. So the fact that all three Yankee pitchers kind of kept him in the park and in check is awesome news. Means that they're doing well. Like that guy has literally owned them since his time in Boston. Max Fried was dominating outside of the first inning. He did have a little rough first inning. The Yankees came out and scored 5 in the second, and Fried came in and just cruised. Slittler looked fantastic. 8 Ks, 1 hit. Like, if he's going to pitch like that, Yankees should easily win the AL East. And like I said, like their rotation is going to be a strength come playoff time and maybe the best rotation in baseball. They have so many pitchers that are great. Will Warren, who the Yankees need to step up while Garrett Cole and Rodon are on the shelf. Warren pitched well. 1 run he gave up. We get to see Ryan Weathers tomorrow, or actually he's pitching right now. So yeah, the Yankees rotation is looking good, and they're gonna get Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon back, and they're gonna be solid. Their bullpen was their issue for me, and so far they're pitching well, but the Giants aren't the greatest team, so let's pump the brakes. Yeah, really not concerned about the rotation. It's been a strength the past few years, and I was not able to say that for the first 22 years of this century. That's a little exaggerated, but this is the first time that the past 3 years, like I've been just solid. I've felt very good about the Yankee rotation. We need that offense to stay consistent, and we need them to stay consistent just to win the AL East. And we need them to play well in September so we go into the playoffs hot and ready to beat the Dodgers. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right? They're the champs. Back-to-back champs. And the Giants just have defensive issues. They have a lot of first base DH types, but, man, Devers is not a good defensive ball player. Luis Ariz next to him manning the Keystone is not a good defensive ball player. Ariz will hit over 300 with ease, but that's about all he's going to do. He's not adding power. He's not stealing bases, and he's not playing good defense. The Giants have to figure out how they're going to use these guys and who they need to move off of. It's going to be an interesting season for them. I see them selling at the deadline, and I'm curious to see how that all goes. The Dodgers swept Arizona. Now, this is the first series we're getting to that Arizona's a good team, and the Dodgers swept them. That's just how good the Dodgers are. Sheehan had a terrible outing in his game for the Dodgers, but besides that, they did the job and handled it pretty easily. Yeah, in Arizona, I mean, they have a really good team, and they fought hard. They put up some runs, but the Dodgers are they're in rarefied air. And you could come out and play extremely well and still get blown out by the Dodgers. Like, that's how much talent they have. And Arizona's bullpen lost every game. I believe the Diamondbacks had a 2-run game in all three, a 2-run lead in all 3 games. But the bullpen came in and blew that. Now, we're only 3 games into the season, so how big of a concern is that bullpen implosion? I don't really know. They were playing the Dodgers, which is a great team. So, again, I don't really know how serious to take that. But through 1 weekend, it looks like Arizona needs to strengthen a bullpen. And we'll see if that's what they're looking to do at the trade deadline. The games were all close, and the Dodgers are a more talented team. They're just older, so they're going to take a little bit longer to warm up and that's a normal thing in baseball. People don't really start hitting for a little while. So the Dodgers will be just fine, and they're already 3-0. Oh, they will be fine. Um, Also, the Dodgers aren't going to be pushing that hard to win 100 games. They want to get people comfortable. They want to get them performing well. They want to get them consistently playing. But they're not going to push them. They're going to rest them as well to get them ready for the postseason. That's the level they're in. They're um, managing their players' playing time. The Milwaukee Brewers also swept. God, they're always good. I don't know why I thought it was going to be a down year for them. They always have these guys, and they always are right there in the NL Central. They're always winning 85 to 90 games and may win the division each year or a wild card. Now, they did play the rebuilding White Sox, and Milwaukee is not going to go 162-0. The White Sox, man, they had so much talent a few years ago, and it just never worked out for them. So many good players just on and off the injured list. So many good players or prospects just not becoming what everybody thought they would. And they had to, start over. They had to get rid of all those guys and start over. So the White Sox are rebuilding, and they're going to have some ugly series, but they're better than last year. And they got some young guys right now that are looking good. So, looking for another year of growth for the White Sox, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Milwaukee putting up that many runs without Jackson Churio is a fantastic sign. I mean, losing that guy to start the season hurts. But when the rest of your team is going to step up and put up the runs that Milwaukee did in this series, I think they're going to be just fine. Again, I don't know why I was worried. Milwaukee always has the talent. The Miz is their ace, and he's absolutely dominant. He destroyed the White Sox. Sproat got smashed, and that's going to be the thing, right? They lost an ace. They traded another ace a couple years ago. They're going to have to find some more starting pitching to help the Miz. Sproat is a good pitcher. He will bounce back. He just had a very bad first start of the season, which, again, it takes a while for people to warm up. It's not the end of the world. The Miami Marlins, they played the Rockies. So they did sweep, but it is the Colorado Rockies. Not a great team. Historically, not a great team. Although the Rockies have made a World Series, which the Seattle Mariners cannot say. And that's so crazy. The Seattle Mariners, they had Ichiro for 20 years. They had Ken Griffey for a decade. They had A-Rod for a minute with Ken Griffey and Edgar Martinez. They've had so much, and Randy Johnson. They've had a lot of talent, and they have not made the World Series. I believe the only team in baseball that has not made the World Series. So while the Rockies are bad, they still have done something the Seattle Mariners have never done. Now, the Marlins do have some nice talent. Xavier Edwards, Marcy, the catcher Ramirez, Max Meyer, the pitcher. Like, these guys are very good talents. And I always want to like the Marlins. They've been able to develop some of the greatest pitchers that I've seen in my life. They just haven't been able to develop the bats. And they don't spend the money to sign the bats. But the Marlins always have young talent, and then they trade them. So I am excited to watch the Marlins play, and I'm excited to watch some of these young guys grow. But they are young, and this is going to be another year of the Marlins establishing their roster as major league players, talented major league players. Something they go through all the time. And the Rockies are a perennial mess. But surprisingly, they got Dave Podesta now, and I think he's going to figure something out. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what to even try, honestly. But if anybody's going to figure it out, it's going to be that guy. And I can't wait. I really I want to see like his journal and like what he's thinking about trying. Like I would love to see that. So those are the sweeps to start the season. We also have a bunch of prospects, big time prospects that are playing in the majors already. Major League Baseball made that rule change a while back to incentivize teams to call up their guys a little bit sooner. If you hold on to a player till like mid-April, you get another year of control over that guy. And in baseball, you control your players for basically like 6 years. It's a crazy setup that baseball still goes by. But so yeah, most teams don't call their guy up until mid-April because they want that extra season. That is extra season with a great player. Again, these are the top prospects, and an extra season of paying less money. So that's definitely what they want. So the White Sox, we were just talking about them and their young talent. They signed Murakami out of Japan, who is he was the home run hitter in Japan. And there have been a lot of questions about how his game would translate to the major league. Maybe he swings and misses a little bit too much. Maybe he chases a little bit too much. His numbers, the peripherals kind of started to look worse the past 2 seasons. So people started questioning what he would do. And through 3 games, all he's done is hit a home run in every game. So I think he's doing all right. We will start to see as pitchers learn him, we'll see where his holes in his swing are. But right now, he looks like a good sign for the White Sox. I'm excited that they got a young player to build around. Kazuma Okamoto also signed out of Japan, third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. He had the same questions, right? He was a good bat in Japan, but coming to the United States is a different level of play. And there were a lot of questions about how he'd hold up. Through 3 games, he's hitting .333 with a home run and a 1 OPS. That's pretty awesome. You always want to be a 1-dotter. If he could hold that up for a whole season, whew, that would be ideal for the Blue Jays. Again, I don't think Okamoto's bat is going to replace Bo Bichetti's, like, apple for apple. But if he's a 1-dotter, it definitely does. And that might make their lineup more feared come playoff time. McGonigal for the Detroit Tigers. This kid got called up for opening day, and his minor league report just said he's going to hit, right? He's not fast. He's not really going to do a whole lot else, but the guy's going to put the bat on the ball and get on base. And he's hitting .417 right now through 3 games. Again, small sample sizes, but let's pump up these kids. Bengi with the Mets. He had an extremely hot spring, which prompted them to go ahead and promote him to the major leagues. And through 3 games, his average is not too pretty, but he's got a home run and a stolen base, and he's gonna hit. He's gonna be a great player for the Mets. Honestly, as a Yankee fan, it's hard to say this, but I am excited to watch the Mets. I really am. I think they're going to be a good team. DeLauder from the Indians also hit 3 home runs in 3 games. And the Guardians, apologies. The Guardians need offense. I said that in my divisional predictions that they don't have enough offense to win the Central. This would be a nice step if DeLauder can, crank 30 home runs in his rookie season. That'd be a step in the right direction. I still think they won't have enough offense in the end. And come trade deadline, they're going to have to do or think about Stephen Kwan and if they want to let him go in free agency or if they want to try to trade him and get something for him. The Guardians are not, they normally do not re sign their guys after their 6 years of control. They usually let them move on and get paid somewhere else. So I unfortunately I feel like the Guardians are gonna move some of their offensive pieces at the trade deadline, and they won't have enough to compete. Sal Stewart got called up for the Reds, and this is another guy who scouting report, he's gonna hit. There's a right-handed bat. It's gonna hit. He sees the ball well, and he hits the ball hard. And just like the Guardians, the Reds need offense. Hunter Green is on the injured list, and the Reds' strength is probably their pitching and probably their starting rotation. So with their ace on the shelf, they need to win in other ways. And this is a good start. South Stewart's hitting 700 right now through 3 games. Ridiculous. It will obviously come down. There are 159 more games. But I'm excited for the Reds. That's another team that I like watching, and I want them to do well. So let's go, Sal. Cardinals brought up J.J. Weatherholt, and he's hitting 308 with a home run and playing solid shortstop. I think that's the most important thing, right? To have a solid presence in the middle of your diamond, and also one that can hit 300. Shortstop used to be a position where you would settle for a guy who hit 220, 230 if he had, you know, a glove like the Wizard, like Simmons more recently. But that's not the case anymore. So many shortstops can mash now. So you can't have a guy who's a gold glover and no bat playing the position anymore. And that is really how the position was defined forever. I mean, it's the most important defensive position on the mound. Although catcher's pretty important. I think you could argue either one there. But shortstop sees a lot of action and needs to have range, needs to have an arm, needs to have good instincts. And so they would just, bat's not quite there, that's fine, because everything else is A+. But that's not the case anymore. Like, you need a guy that can hit. You need a guy who can impact the games in other ways besides his defense. And it looks like the Cardinals got one. And they're in a rebuilding mode right now. So getting a solid shortstop is an awesome chess piece to have at the beginning of a rebuild. Cardinals being good at baseball is good for baseball. I am a Yankee fan, so I will just leave it at that. But Cardinals being good at baseball is good for baseball. And there were so many good players caught up last year that are technically still rookies. So this class of rookies right now is amazing. And it's so much young talent that's going to take over the game. Like, I'm very excited about the state of baseball talent. There's all sorts of other questions with baseball, but the talent is there. And I'm excited to watch the 2026 season. Mike Trout. Talking about talented players. I love Mike Trout. The way he has gone about his work has been awesome to watch when he's on the field. I remember seeing him his rookie year, and I had just read about him in the minors, and I went to a game at Ranger Stadium and was watching, and I'm telling my friends, like, you got to watch this dude right here. He didn't do anything at that at-bat, that plate appearance. I think he struck out. But then he went on to have a decade of just amazing play, doing some of the craziest stuff we've seen. And we got robbed of that greatness through injury and through Art Moreno. He never was able to put anybody around Mike Trout except for Shohei. And they never made the playoffs when those two were together. So I'm hoping Mike Trout can finish his career on the field and showing us just how talented he really is. Right now, through 3 games, he's hitting like 462, 650 on base percentage, over 900 OPS, a couple homers, 7 walks, which is huge. I mean, he always walks, and he's not a huge strikeout guy, but like that 7 walks is huge for me through 3 games. And he stole a base, which he has not been running much in his career. So it's nice to see him off and running. And they are playing him in the outfield. I think this is a huge thing. Like, a lot of people can't just go DH. It's not easy to sit on the bench all day long except for those 4 at bats. And then the rest of the game, you're sitting there eating sunflower seeds and just watching for 3 hours. That's not an easy thing to do. And we see it all the time. Like, there are certain DHs that just can do it. David Ortiz could do it. Schwarber can do it. I think Trout, just the way he plays, especially how hard he plays in the outfield, like he needs to be in the game to feel a part of something. And then when he comes to the plate, it's a continuation of the game, right? But when you're just sitting and coming in 4 times just to hit, it's like like you've been sitting there for 40 minutes and then you get up and like, time to try to work. It's rough. So I think it's huge that he's playing in the outfield, and I hope to see Trout do some special stuff this year. Because I love baseball. I love sports. And I'm not quitting my day job, but talking about sports is awesome. And I'm going to keep doing it. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching JetKoa Sports. I'm going to give you a link to one of my previous videos. And please remember to subscribe if you like the content.